So we are going to, and I'm going to try to pronounce this correctly, we're going to talk about the Dominus Fecit. Okay? My Latin butchering. The Dominus Fecit is this little guy right here, the mod, not the addy. Okay? It's a busy little fella. The Dominus Fecit is Latin for Lord Made. Very, very humble modder, as you can tell. No, I'm just kidding. But it is designed and manufactured locally in Southern California by Dominus Mods. It has a side-firing button, very short throw, approximately 1 millimeter. Has built-in lock ring, magnetic switch. It has adjustable brass positive post and self-adjusting negative post, which I'll show you shortly, which is actually my favorite feature of this guy. Can take any 18,000 series battery. It is not a telescope, it is segmented. The mod is laser engraved on the bottom. We'll show you the engravings here in just a moment. It comes with a care manual. This guy here, Dominus Fecit, 2013. It also comes with spare contact nut for the switch, a spare negative post spring, a spare magnet, and it also comes with the extra segments here and here, which will allow you to take that from 18350 to 18490 to 18650. And the extension tubes have grooved rings on them to make it easier to grip when you're replacing the tubes and so on. So, and it also has battery vent holes. Extra holes were added for aesthetic purposes. We'll talk about that here in just a sec. So, let's do some close-up. So here is the Dominus Fecit. This is what I was talking about with the air holes, or the vent holes on the base. Okay, as you can see, side firing button, very, very short throw. This is the ribbing I mentioned on the extension tube. It's all polished with my lovely grubby fingerprints all over it. Another extension, and you have the top portion, and then you see it's got more battery vent holes along the top, which I believe were just added to match the actual functional battery vent holes on the bottom. So, and they go all the way around the device. Let me zoom out a little bit so you can see the whole device in focus. So this is what it looks like. Okay. All polished, as you can see. Let's disassemble this guy. Actually, I'll show you the engraving first. So this is the engraving on the bottom. Dominus Fecit, number 43. It's serialized. So, first thing about this little guy, this is pretty cool. So the button design is a little bit different. You know, I heard some people say, oh, it looks like a GG. Not really. Pretty much the only thing that this has in common with a GGTS is that it has a side firing button. That's about it. So, as you can see, it's got a little lock ring there. It's actually really easy to manipulate despite how small it is, because it's got those little grooves on the side. So it's really easy to grip. Now this is the cool part. So there is, on the inside here, you have your negative contact. The negative contact is spring-loaded, so it automatically adjusts to remove battery rattle. But the spring is not a hot spring, and there is no current, at least in theory, there is no current traveling through that spring. So, pretty cool. Then you have the individual segments. So this is one of the extensions. You can take these off. Yes. There we go. So you grab that, take that off. I'm sorry. This is the extension segment that you take off. Remove that guy. So you pull that guy off. and then you would thread this piece back into here, and then you have it in 18490 mode. Okay. Then you have the second extension here, which you can take off of the top cap, and then pop this guy on, and then you have 18350 mode. Okay. So let's reassemble that guy. Actually, we'll show you the switch real quick first. I just got juice all over myself because I turned my dripper upside down. Good job, Mike. The top cap on this, pretty straightforward. Hold on a sec. It has a 510 crowned connection, as you can see. So if you want to use like a standard Cardo on there, you have airflow, or a standard like dripper, typical dripper atomizer on there, 510 atomizer, you have airflow. You also have a juice well, and then raised up inside the juice well, you'll see that you have air holes for airflow. Okay, so if you have something that fits flush on the device, you'll still be able to get airflow. You know, if you're using something like an Odysseus or a Penelope or a Ithaca, you'll still have airflow through the bottom. Okay. Actually, not an Ithaca, but an Odysseus or a Penelope or any other device with bottom airflow. So the pin itself is threaded. You simply unscrew that. You just unscrew that, you know, not all the way, but far enough. Screw your atomizer in, and then you just tighten that back up until it makes contact with the bottom of your atomizer. Don't tighten it too much, you can damage the 510 connection on your Addy, but that'll allow you to thread your atomizer down all the way until it sits flush before you screw the device back together. Now, the nice thing, like I said, about this is you don't have to worry about adjusting for battery rattle, because it does that automatically thanks to that spring-loaded connection. I'm just reassembling this here off camera. The threading's nice and clean on it. You know, everything's nice and smooth. Doesn't have any grind to it or anything. It was definitely thoroughly cleaned before they were sent out. The finish on it is really nice. It's got a nice polished finish. I do prefer brushed, but that is merely personal preference. It is a very nice polish job on this device. Let's get my Addy back on here. Okay. Okay, so let's talk about how it vapes. When I saw the button design, I thought to myself, oh man, that's going to have some major voltage loss issues, just from looking at the way that the button was designed. And while it doesn't have major voltage loss issues, it does have some voltage loss. So when I tested this, and those who watch my show know I do the same test every time. I use the same atomizer. It's a 2 ohm piece of crap Chinese dripping atomizer, and I thread it onto my little tube ohm meter and then fire it under load. So because it's a much higher ohm, you get a more accurate reading. You also get less variation. So a really high voltage loss would be, you know, 1.9 to, I'm sorry, 0.19, 0.2 volts. And then a really good voltage loss would be, you know, 0.1, 0.09, 0.08, around there. Get out of here. Fred being a turd. With this one, I got around a 0.15, which is not terrible, but it, you know, it doesn't hit as hard as your you know, your Nemesis and your Bare Brass mods, Steampunk, and Bare Brass mods Brass, and, you know, Pulse, and Caravella, and Templar, and yada, and so on, and so on, and so on. So, you know, it doesn't hit quite as hard. It still performs pretty well, though. It's not like it has, like I said, it doesn't have major voltage loss issues. It just doesn't quite hit as hard as some other mods. You know, if you're using rebuildables, of course, you can compensate for that by, you know, building something with a slightly lower ohm. So it's not a huge deal, but, you know, typically you want something that's going to maximize the amount of juice you're getting out of your battery. So that was a little bit of a disappointment. However, like I said, it's not drastic. And I really like the way that the device feels. The grips on it, actually, the way that they're placed, it kind of feels really nice in the hand. Like I end up having my index and my middle finger and my thumb right on those grips, and it feels good in the hand, and fire it with my ring finger. So, and you know, as you can see, vapor production's fine. Obviously, that's going to have everything to do with your atomizer that you're using on top, and you know, as long as the mod is not having major issues, you'll get decent vapor production and flavor from your Addy. But so yeah, you know, to sum it up, I do like the device. It's very well built. It's sturdy. It looks very nice. You know, it's a little busy. I do like a cleaner look, but I understand the purpose of the little grips on there and why they put them on there. You know, it does feel nice in the hand. It's not like some other mods that I've used that actually feel slippery. We'll talk about one like that here shortly, actually. And I like the switch. You know, it's a nice change. I've been using almost all bottom fires for, you know, a long time. And, you know, it's a nice change of pace to get something with a side firing switch. And I do like the bottom side fire switch. So, because with the bottom side fire, when it sticks out a little bit, if you're using like a Genesis style device, it's not like when you have something like the Poldiac or a Pravari where you have to, you know, kind of, you know, do weird stuff with your fingers to get it to fire, because you're firing it with your index finger, your thumb, and have to twist your hand around and stuff. With the bottom fire side button, you can fire it no matter what direction it's facing, because you're either firing it against your palm or you're firing it with one of your fingers, either your pinky or your ring finger. So it's easier to use with a Genesis, in my opinion, or at least more comfortable too. So there you go. So yeah, like I said, I think it's a good device. It's not my favorite. It does have a little bit of voltage loss, but it performs well. The button assembly is pretty interesting and pretty innovative, that they were able to design it without using a hot spring. You know, where the current is actually traveling through a brass negative post rather than traveling through a spring, so you get less voltage loss that way, which is cool. So that is the Dominus Fecit from Dominus Mods.